Hey, Astro Kids, and welcome back. Today we're talking about the transit of Mars in Taurus, which will take place from February 21st through April 13th. So, what is this transit of Mars in Taurus all about? Well, first we have to understand the significance of Mars and Taurus and put these two energies together. And so, this is an interesting combination, which I call the unstoppable force. When Mars is coming into the sign of Taurus, this gives a tremendous amount of persistence and determination. However, this is also slow. And so this is a slow, unstoppable force, as Taurus gives that very slow and graceful movement, step by step, methodical. And to understand this, we really have to get into what is Mars all about. So, as many of you know, Mars is the military general in the planetary cabinet. Mars is all about our aggression, our willpower, our determination. It is the will to get things done. And so Mars is here to take action, to take the initiative. And so these qualities are coming through in Mars. Now, what happens when we put that in the sign of Taurus? Well, Mars has a neutral relationship with Venus. Why is this important? Because Venus is the ruler of Taurus. And so now, as Mars comes into the sign of Taurus, there is a neutral effect that is happening here. And what this means is that Mars is not debilitated, it is not damaged, it's not in an enemy sign. However, it's not functioning at its highest capacity. And so the speed, the aggression is not fully there. We're slowing this energy down, making it more peaceful, more grounded, more stable. And so immediately this makes me think of the tortoise from the tortoise and the hare. There is a tremendous amount of determination and willpower that is in this combination. However, it's very slow, right? This is not a straightforward, aggressive type of combination. Now let's take a deeper look at the sign of Taurus to get a better understanding of this functioning. And so many of you are probably familiar with my interpretation of the sign in Taurus. If you have checked out that Sun in Taurus in Vedic Astrology video. If not, there is a link above so that you can look into that and get more insight. But we're just looking at the sign of Taurus alone at this moment to get an idea of how this is functioning when we are placing Mars here in Taurus. And so Taurus is a fixed sign. Fixed meaning it doesn't change. It stays as it is. And so there is a stubbornness, there is a persistence, a stability to this sign. This is also an earth sign. And so out of all of the fixed signs, this is by far one of the most fixed, as earth is representing the things that are stable, that are practical, security, wealth, the material world. And so this is not only fixed, but it is also an earth sign, making it one of the most stable in the entire zodiac. And this is why the moon is exalted in Taurus. The moon is the mother, the nurturer. This is where we get comfort from. And so the moon feels the most grounded, the most stable in Taurus because it is the most stable. Now, Taurus is also ruled by Venus. Venus being the planet of love, beauty, luxury, pleasure, sexuality, attraction, art, music, peace, justice. And so all of these qualities are coming into Taurus. This is a very materialistic sign. This is a sign about family, tradition, security, wealth, possessions. Taurus is here to create stability and security. And so wherever Taurus is in your chart, that becomes the most stable position in your entire chart. It is all about farming that solid ground. And so this is why when Mars comes into Taurus, there is a determination, a persistence. Taurus is a sign that doesn't back down. It is here to build that security, and it will do whatever it takes to get that security. And so Taurus is stubborn in this way, where it is willing to do whatever it takes to build the security, to build the protection, to build the safety, to build the comfort, the luxury, the family environment. So this becomes a very rock solid sign, stable, down to earth, practical, focused, persistent. And so when Mars comes into Taurus, there is a tremendous amount of drive and persistence. This is a person who doesn't give up, no matter how long this process takes. And of course, when Mars is in Taurus, this creates a slow movement, slow action. However, this person still is focused on getting to the finish line and will not stop until they get there. And so this is the energy that we're getting with Mars in Taurus. And now this is coming in a transit. So this is affecting all of us collectively. So let's go ahead and take a look at this transit of Mars in Taurus. And so on the screen, I have pulled up the chart as far as what it looks like when Mars officially enters into the sign of Taurus here on February 21st of 2021. And if you know anything about a bull in a bull race, then you know what this energy is like moving forward. And so the first thing that I can say about this transit is don't give up. Don't lose hope, because no matter how slow you're moving, no matter how slow the pieces are being put together, the stubborn bull will not give up. And so this is a fight, a battle that requires patience. For those of you who are in a rush to try to get things done, for those of you who are trying to use force to push down walls, this is a slow moving progress. You must have patience. You must have dedication to really get to the results that you want. And this is really going to vary when we get into each of the signs and how this is affecting you in your chart. But this is really a time of this slow building progress, this slow forward movement. And so you really want to be patient at this time. You really want to be committed and persistent at this time, not giving up, not losing hope when you're not seeing the results as soon as you would like them. That is the first thing I can definitely say about this transit. Now, as you can see, when we first enter into this transit of Mars in Taurus, Mars is not being aspected. It is just entering into this position of Taurus, and it is entering in on a Kritika Nakshatra. So we will get to that in a moment when we get into the different nakshatras that Mars will transit through. But this is picking up on where it left off in the sign of Aries, and the only sign that is present here in Taurus is Rahu. So with Rahu being the only planet other than Mars sitting here in Taurus and no aspects, this is going to be an unafflicted transit to start off. Now, this is going to change as we get through March and April. We're going to see some different aspects and different conjunctions that are going to play a role into all of this. But to start off this transit, you are just getting the raw Mars and Taurus energy, which is all about persistence, determination. And Mars is here to test you to see, are you willing to be patient? Are you willing to put in the time and the effort? Are you willing to stay committed and consistent in what you are doing? Depending on where you have Taurus in your particular chart, this is really going to play out in your life, where you're going to have to be patient and you're going to have to put that discipline, that time, that commitment, that effort into getting what you want. Because the shadow side of this placement of Mars in Taurus is that it can become very lazy. It can become very dependent and very much stubborn, right? There is a certain point where Taurus does not want to move, doesn't want to change, doesn't want to do much of anything. This heavy influence of Venus does make Taurus a very luxurious sign that wants to relax and be in the comfort and security of having this beautiful, stable, wealthy life. And so that influence is still there on the shadow side where are you going to give up? Are you going to be lazy? Are you going to falter when you're not seeing the results coming through? So, huge lesson with this transit of Mars and Taurus is all about your patience and commitment. How much are you willing to put into this? Because when Taurus puts all the energy in, it gets the results eventually. If it puts nothing in, then nothing will happen. And so you really want to be cautious of which side of this Taurus energy are you leaning into. Are you leaning into the side of Taurus that is consistent, committed, that is willing to do what it takes to build the foundation, the security? And for many of you, this becomes especially a great time for wealth and security as Taurus is connected to our money. So depending on where this is positioned in your chart, this could be a really good time to persist in your business. This could be a time to see some slow results in your wealth increase. And so you really want to pay attention to, are you slacking off? Are you not putting the work and the effort in? Because that is that shadow side of Taurus where you're not tapping into all of the great positive qualities that Taurus is here to bring as far as persistence and determination and remaining loyal and devoted to the mission, right? The sign of Taurus is by far one of the most loyal signs, but this is a test of, are you going to stay devoted and disciplined to the task at hand? Mars is that military general where it is about discipline, it's about commitment, to be a soldier, to fight for a mission, to go out and to conquer. There's a discipline to it. But there's also a side where the young soldier is reckless, gets into danger, gets distracted from the task at hand. And so this becomes a real challenge and lesson through this Mars and Taurus transit is, are you going to be committed and devoted to the task at hand, to what you want to accomplish and achieve at this time? Are you willing to put all of your strength and effort into making this happen? Because Mars and Taurus will give you the results. Again, Mars and Taurus is a neutral position. This is not debilitated. This is not an enemy sign. It is not in its full capacity where it would like to be in the sign of Scorpio or Aries. However, it is still in a great placement in Taurus, where this gives you just as much as you put in. And so, huge test here as far as your willpower, your determination, your efforts. How willing are you to stay committed and focused on the task at hand? And again, if you are familiar with a bull and a bull race, then you know how this energy goes if you are tapping into this correctly. A bull has that tunnel vision. Are you willing to have that tunnel vision when it comes to your goals, your responsibility, your task in life? Are you going to reap the results, the achievements, the abundance? That all comes down to, are you willing to stay focused and committed to the task? Or are you slacking off? Are you staying stuck in the past? Are you staying stuck in your old ways? This stubbornness, this laziness, this inability to move ahead, to move forward is the piece of this that is stopping you from your achievements. This is really the gist of this transit of Mars and Taurus. And ultimately, collectively, we can see some great strides that can take place, but very slowly, that require the consistency, the discipline, right? This is how Mars and Taurus rewards you, is if you put in the time and the effort. If you're willing to stay committed, because this energy of Taurus is all about commitment. But what are you willing to commit to? Are you committing to the wrong things? Are you committing to the foods and the objects and the items in life that you know are not beneficial to you? Or are you willing to commit to the right things? This is the test of this transit. So let's go ahead and take a look at the aspects and conjunctions and the different nakshatras that this Mars in Taurus transit will affect us with. So up on the screen now, I have a list of transits that are going to be related to this Mars in Taurus transit. And so now we're going to take a look at the aspects and conjunctions of this transit. And to start off here on the 26th of February, we do have an aspect between Mars and the moon in Leo. And so it is making its fourth aspect over to the moon. And this is something that we will see happen for a second time as well as we come to the end of this transit in April. As Mars is making an aspect over to the moon in Leo, this really heightens our emotions. Remember that Mars and the moon are directly connected to our emotions. Mars more so with the hotter emotions of anger, aggression, determination, willpower, and the moon more so about sensitivity, receptiveness, intuition. And so as the moon is making an aspect over to Mars, this really heightens our senses and gives us very intense feelings and emotions at this time. And so this is really a time where you want to be cautious of making any sort of reckless actions. Remember that this is Mars in Taurus, which is very much in its neutral position, right? It's not in its strongest position. And so Mars is still in a place where how are you going to use this Martian energy? Right? This is neutral where this could go either way. And this is aspecting a moon in Leo, where Leo is all about royalty, right? Leo is the king. And on the negative spin, it is about ego. And so there is something huge here where if you're using this Mars energy incorrectly, this can really give us a strong ego, right? This can make us very puffy, very egotistical, very reactive. And there's a sense of entitlement to this transit here. And so this is one of those transits where you want to be careful of how you're reacting and responding to the things going on in your environment, especially depending on where Mars is positioned in your chart. If this is happening in a place that deals specifically with people, whether this is happening in your third house of siblings, in your seventh house of your spouse, in your 11th house of large social groups, all of these things you want to be cautious of. This is really a time where the ego can blow out of proportion and you can be very sensitive, very reactive to certain people in your environment when really this is coming from a place of ego. And so you want to make sure that you're checking how you're feeling, why you're feeling it, and handling these situations in a proper way instead of reacting negatively. Remember that Mars, when it is functioning properly, has discipline. It has confidence. It's able to deal with difficult situations. But when Mars is in a difficult position, this can really bring aggression, right? Anger, frustration. And so this is really a situation where you want to be careful of how you are reacting and responding to your environment. Now on March 6th, Mars will make its eighth aspect over to the moon in Sagittarius. And so this is going to be another one where we're dealing with the energy of the moon. And as the moon comes into Sagittarius, this is a very different energy, right? Sagittarius is more about morals, ethics, principles. Now, the difficulty with this placement is that when Sagittarius is not functioning properly, this higher knowledge, this wisdom, this philosophy, these moral principles can make Sagittarius a bit of a snob, right? This can give, again, ego problems, but in the sense that Sagittarius thinks they know everything. And so this can create situations where there are lots of arguments and disagreements that are really coming from a place of ego, a place of arrogance, right? A place of thinking that you know everything and that you have all of the answers. And this is especially true because Mars will be in Taurus. Taurus is about our values, right? Taurus is that original second house, which is connected to our possessions, our family, our values, our traditions. And so with Mars making this aspect over to the moon in Sagittarius, this becomes a very interesting transit because this can really give a person a stubbornness in their belief systems, right? If someone challenges your beliefs, if someone challenges your ideas, this can really give you an arrogance, an egotism, where you are reacting to these things as if you know everything, and you may not. And so again, this is another situation where you might need to step back and think about why you feel the way you do, and why these issues are coming up, and how to face these conflicts in a way that is not blown out of proportion, in a way where you're not reacting in such a overblown and aggressive way. So really our emotions are being strongly affected by a lot of these transits. Now on March 10th, Mars will come into a conjunction with Rahu. And so this is an interesting association because Rahu is really a friend to the planet Saturn, right? Rahu is the ruler of Aquarius. And so Rahu is not quite a friend to Mars. And so this becomes a very interesting combination as Rahu is very much connected to karma. It is connected to our desires, facing the shadow aspects of life. And Mars really doesn't want to deal with this. Mars wants to be straightforward, aggressive. It wants to go after the things that it wants. And so in this combination, Rahu is the one that feels most comfortable in Taurus. Mars is very agitated in this conjunction. And this is a conjunction that will last pretty much until the end of this Mars and Taurus transit. And so this is one where you really need to, again, have that patience, because this is one where greed, where ambition, where your desires can blindsight you. This is an issue where the ego can really take over, and this can become a situation where you are all about getting what you want and getting it when you want it. For some of you, this means taking shortcuts. For some of you, it means doing things that are unethical, right? And so this is a situation where when Mars comes into this conjunction with Rahu, remember to have that consistency, to have that determination, to have that patience, to do things in the right way, step by step, using that Taurus energy to slowly move towards your goals versus trying to take shortcuts and doing things in the wrong manner. Because Rahu can definitely bring this out. And Rahu is already in Taurus, where there's strong desires towards wealth, towards security, collectively. And so when Mars comes here, this really blows this up, where this can, again, create a situation where you are cutting around the morals, the principles, the laws, the ethics, and doing things in the wrong way. And so you want to be very patient at this time and not allow your aggression, your anger, your frustration to lead you towards the wrong decisions. Now, on March 18th, the moon is also coming into an association with Mars and Rahu. And so now, not only is it Mars and Rahu, but the moon is here as well. And again, the moon feels very comfortable here along with Rahu. It is Mars that feels agitated, and Mars is caught in the middle of the moon and Rahu. And so this especially becomes a frustration for a lot of people as this transit takes place. This really brings out those deeper, darker desires, those frustration, that ability to take shortcuts, that ability to do things in the wrong way, where Mars and the moon are really bringing out these deep conflicts and frustrations and emotions that need to be faced and addressed. And so during this point, if you're seeing yourself repeating old patterns and behaviors that are not morally correct, that are taking shortcuts, doing things in the wrong way, avoiding the law, this is really a time where you want to look at that and to make the necessary changes to get away from that, right? And this especially becomes true if you are going through a Rahu Mahadasha or a Rahu Antidarsha, where you're going through this period where Rahu is affecting you. And so depending on how you have Taurus position in your chart, this can bring up some very big conflicts within your life where you must strive to do what is right. Taurus is there to teach you the patience, the consistency, the determination, right? The dedication to put the time in and to see those results build slowly, as Taurus is a friend to Saturn, and so is Rahu. So this is really a time where you must be cautious because Mars is on edge, right? Everything is happy between Saturn, between Taurus, between Venus, and Mars feels like the odd one out. He feels like he can't get anything done at his pace. He feels like the speed, the intensity, the focus, the determination is gone. And so this really brings up some deep internal conflicts and feelings that need to be addressed and worked through versus making impulsive, reckless, wrong decisions. Now, on March 26th, Mars is going to make its second aspect to Leo. And we're also going to see Mars being aspected by Jupiter, because now Jupiter is coming to those last degrees of Capricorn, and so is Mars coming to the last degrees of Taurus. And so now we're getting this full aspect of Jupiter over to Mars. And so now this is a time where Jupiter can step in and give us more of those moral principles, more of this good nature to take us towards our goals and achievements in the right way. But remember that Jupiter is debilitated in Capricorn. And so this is where this also becomes a challenge of being hopeful, having the optimism, having the confidence to go after your goals. This can be strongly diminished by Jupiter being in its debilitation. And we've experienced this for a long time. But in this transit, this becomes even more prevalent as it is being added to this Mars and Taurus that is frustrated. It wants to quickly act. It wants what it wants. And Taurus is really slowing this down, teaching us the patience, teaching us the dedication, the commitment. And so this really becomes a time of a lot of internal frustration and conflicts if you're really trying to push to get things done at a quicker rate. And so this is a time where, for many of you, it is great to meditate. It is great to tap inward and to look within and to really find out where those difficulties and frustrations lie and to work through that, to build the patience, to build the peace and calm within. This is really going to help you during this period because Mars is really going to be frustrated as it is in this conjunction with Rahu, and it's getting this aspect from Jupiter in its debilitation, and the moon is involved. There's so many factors here where Mars feels all of these intense emotions and frustrations that need to be faced and worked through. Now, on the 12th, Mars is going to make its 8th aspect over to the moon in Sagittarius once again. So again, these beliefs, these ideas can be triggered during this time. So you want to be cautious of, are you on your high horse? Are you being overly self-righteous? Are you trying to force your opinions and ideas upon others? Are you too stubborn to listen to your guides, to your teachers, to those who are here to give you wisdom and understanding? This really comes up during this Mars and Taurus transit. And then on the 13th, Mars is going to end out its transit and shift over into the sign of Gemini. So let's go ahead and take a look at those nakshatras that Mars in Taurus will shift through during this period. So starting off this transit of Mars in Taurus, this will take place in the Kritika nakshatra. Now, previously, as Mars was in Aries, it was also in this nakshatra. This nakshatra of Kritika is all about critiquing. This is represented by the blade, cutting through things, getting to the root, finding the solution. And so this becomes all about criticizing, about finding the faults in problems, getting to the solution, getting to the root of the problem, facing the problem head on. And so this gives this cutting, this precision, this calculative nature of being able to analyze and break things down and really get right to the root of the issue. Now, this is going to be Mars in Taurus transiting into the second pada. So originally Mars in Aries was happening in that first pada, which falls in the Sagittarius Navamsa. It is a Jupiter-ruled pada, which was all about the moralistic path, the generous path, right? And it's very much connected to the military pursuits in life, using your willpower, your strength, your stamina to do right, to take the righteous path. But as this shifts into the second pada, this is now in a Capricorn Navamsa. And so this is a Saturn-ruled pada. And remember that Saturn is all about discipline, structure, karma, justice, right? This is a very slow-paced, analytical type of planet. And so as it comes into this Capricorn Navamsa, this becomes more about harmonizing because Saturn is connected to justice. And so this is very different as it's coming into this pada of Capricorn. And this really becomes about morals. It becomes about ethics and principles, where this is really about, again, this vision that is more practical than it is spiritual. In that first pada, it was about this higher vision of doing what's right. Now this comes down to earth, where it becomes more about the practical issues. It becomes more about the justice, the law, the functioning of society. And so as we are in this second pada of Mars in Taurus, this really becomes about, again, looking at the moral and ethical principles in your life. And we talked a little bit about this with the transits that are coming, because all of this is highlighting what lessons we need to look at in our lives, which really are centered around doing what is right, especially as we're coming into this transit. Remember that there is a part of Taurus that is a bit more lazy, relaxed, that is about stubbornness and staying in what is comfortable. But do you have the strength, the persistence, the commitment to do what's right, to stick to your path, to follow the laws and to do things in the just way? And this really becomes a huge test here, as this second pada within the Capricorn Navamsa is really bringing up those issues within you. It is bringing to the surface what are the things in your life that are not disciplined, that are not in harmony, the things that need to be focused and worked on. What are your material responsibilities in life? All of this comes to the surface. So remember that this nakshatra is a blade. It cuts through the nonsense. It shows you where the issues and flaws are. It shows you what needs to be worked on and addressed. And so this becomes a huge factor as we're entering into Mars in Taurus moving forward here. Now, as it shifts into the third pada, we are shifting into the Aquarius Navamsa, where this becomes about your mission in life. And so after forming the discipline, after tending to your routines, making sure that everything is in order, that you're doing right, this also becomes a part of your responsibility in the collective, your responsibility as a whole. Are you working towards your future? Are you helping others? Are you maintaining the vision of your life, sticking to your duty? This becomes a huge factor as we're shifting into the Aquarius Navamsa. And so this is very intense as we are entering into this Mars and Taurus transit in this Kritika Nakshatra, as this becomes a very disciplined Nakshatra about cutting through the surface level nonsense, cutting through the distractions, cutting through the mistakes and the laziness, right? Cutting through the areas of our life that don't have the correct structure and discipline. This really becomes about needing to maintain your routine, needing to follow your duty and responsibility in life. Remember that Taurus is connected to our finances. It is connected to tradition, for doing right by your family, for holding that solid foundation, maintaining your wealth, your values. This consistency becomes a huge part of what we are entering into here as we are shifting ahead into this Mars and Taurus transit. And as we come to the end of this Nakshatra of Kritika, the last part of this falls in the Pisces Navamsa. So this becomes another Jupiter ruled part of this Nakshatra, similar to the first one, where now this becomes more about the benevolent way of doing things, helping others, being a part of the group, showing compassion. This also can become a great area for you to dabble into your creative side, working on your projects. And remember that Taurus is connected to money. And so, depending on how this is positioned in your chart and how this is affecting the planets in your chart, this can really give you an opportunity to work on a new project, to work on a new creative endeavor that can provide you with wealth and security. And so, again, this element of commitment really becomes a huge part of all of this. Staying committed to the task, to your purpose, to what you want to achieve in life, to your duties and responsibilities, and straying away from the distractions, leaving all of the distractions and the nonsense and all of the procrastination and everything that is keeping you from achieving success out of the equation. And so for many of you, this is time to develop a routine, to face those subconscious blocks that are keeping you from doing what is necessary, doing what is needed. This becomes a huge part of the beginning of this transit of Mars in Taurus. Now, the last Nakshatra was a bit more masculine, a bit more aggressive, as it was controlled by the sun. This next Nakshatra that Mars will transit through in Taurus is Rohini, which is more feminine. It is controlled by the moon. And so now this is being affected by the mind. And so creativity becomes a huge part of this Nakshatra. But also, the moon is connected to our nourishment, our comfort. And so money and finance also becomes a huge part of this Nakshatra as well. And as we are shifting into this Nakshatra of Rohini, which is symbolized by a chariot, this is all about moving towards our goals in life. This creative energy of getting things done, of creating what you want in your life. becomes a huge theme here. And so again, we are still here in this theme of responsibility, of commitment, of getting tasks done, of building up your wealth and assets, of building that solid foundation in life. This becomes huge focus here in the sign of Taurus, and especially with the planet Mars here, where Mars is our aggression, our determination, our willpower. This is giving you a tremendous amount of strength to get the things done that need to be accomplished in your life. And starting off in this first pada of the Rohini Nakshatra, we are in an Aries Navamsa. This is controlled by Mars, where there is a fiery passion to get the material results, to get the success, to get the wealth, the security in life. And so, especially in this first pada, you want to take advantage of this strength, this willpower, this determination, because not only is this Mars now, but this is Mars within a Mars Navamsa. This is going to give a tremendous amount of strength to those who are willing to use it. Now, also, as we're pushing ahead into the second pada of this Rohini Nakshatra, now we are coming into the Taurus Navamsa. And so this is a Venus-controlled Navamsa. Now, this is going to give us Vragadama results, as this is in the sign of Taurus in the Taurus Navamsa. And so this really becomes a very strong pada, which is all about the fulfillment of your desires. This is about using that creativity, using that communication skill, using all of the skills and qualities that you have to get the most successful results. And so again, using this Mars in Taurus wisely, using the part of Taurus that is consistent, devoted, dedicated to get towards your goals and achievements is highly recommended. Not so much leaning towards this luxurious and laid back side of Taurus. Because for many of you, staying in this place of nothingness is not going to get you any results. Remember that Taurus is all about what are you committed to? What do you value? What are you willing to strive towards? To put the time, the patience, the effort into at this time. This becomes huge as we are shifting ahead. And so you really want to use your desires, your determination to really shift towards what you want to achieve, especially with Rahu in the equation. As Mars comes into a conjunction with Rahu, this is really going to help to increase the things that we desire in our lives. Now, another thing to mention about Rahu is that you may receive some results that you don't like from Rahu as well. So depending on where your thought process is, so make sure you're paying attention to where is Mars in Taurus positioned from your moon, because this is really going to tell us about where your thoughts and feelings are. Because if you are thinking that you are going to get everything that you want out of the material world, Rahu may give you some results that don't satisfy you in the end. It will give you the results that you want, but you find that they're not really as satisfying as you thought they would be. And especially if you are being highly affected by Rahu in some way at this time. If you are going through your Rahu Mahadasha, if you are going through your Rahu Antardarsha, if you are going through a very strong transit of Rahu, this can really strongly affect you as far as your material desires. Now, as we come into the third pada, this is going to fall in the Gemini Navamsa. And so this is going to be ruled by Mercury, which gives more flexibility. This gives more ability to tap into your different skills and talents at this time. And so again, using this energy to be more creative, more expressive when you're here in the sign of Rohini really becomes a strong suit, especially in that previous pada of Venus. And now in this Mercury pada, this gives you more flexibility, more creativity, to tap into your different skills and talents. And so this is really great position for you to achieve your material wealth and security. Really tapping into your strengths, your creativity at this time, and making sure that you are taking the correct path. This Mercury influence can lead you to want to take shortcuts as well, as Mercury is the trickster. And so this can negatively affect you if you are trying to do things in an unethical way. Because remember that Mars will be with Rahu and it will receive aspects from Jupiter. This is a huge karmic test as we are going through this Mars in Taurus transit. Now, the last Navamsa of Rohini is falling in the Cancer Navamsa. And so this is ruled by the moon. And so here we are getting a double moon energy. And so you may want to travel during this time. You may have different changing ideas and thoughts and opinions at this time. This is another point where you want to pay attention to your emotions, your thoughts. Because again, remember those aspects of the moon to Leo, to the moon in Sagittarius, to the moon being present with Mars and Rahu. All of those transits bringing out very strong emotions and reactions that need to be faced and addressed during this Mars and Taurus transit. There's a lot here that's coming to the surface, especially as Rahu is involved, really activating those shadow aspects of life. What are the feelings, the desires, the frustrations that need to be faced and conquered during this Mars and Taurus transit? And the last nakshatra here in Taurus, which will take us into Gemini as we shift ahead into our next transit, is Mrinshira, which is all about searching. This is symbolized by the deer in the forest. This searching in an isolated place. And so here as Mars enters into Taurus, this becomes about your goals, your ambitions. This continues to be about your finances, your security. But now this becomes extremely disciplined, where this is about focusing on this individually, not allowing anything around you to distract you, right? This becomes very isolated. And so through this nakshatra, you may find that you want to be more individualistic, that you want to be more detached and to have that space to really dig into information and to work on the task at hand all by yourself. And so this is a period where you want to be cautious of disconnecting too much during this point and getting lost into this world of business, of work, where there is no time for anything else in your life. This really can happen here in this nakshatra. However, you also want to make sure that you're keeping true to the themes of this nakshatra, of keeping yourself disciplined and focused, of going after what you want. This is a Mars-ruled nakshatra. That intensity, that focus, that drive, that determination, that willpower that we talked about of Mars being here in the sign of Taurus in this Mars nakshatra is a great opportunity for you to go after your goals, for you to take the initiative and to act on where you want to see this success happen in your life. And so again, using that Rohini nakshatra, using that Kritika nakshatra, and now using this Mrinshira nakshatra to really go ahead towards your goals, your dreams, your ambitions, to create wealth and security. This becomes a great opportunity here as Mars is transiting through the sign of Taurus. Now let's go ahead and take a look at what this will look like depending on your chart. And remember that this is a general read, so this is depending on the houses in your chart, but the planets can also play a role in this as well. And so you want to make sure that certain planets aren't afflicting these houses, that certain planets aren't giving different results to these houses. All of these things can play out. And if you are curious about how all of this is affecting you and you're not sure how to understand your chart, feel free to contact me for a reading to go in and interpret your chart as a whole. If you want to learn this for yourself, there is a class available in the Facebook group, Astrology Lessons with Daquan Jones, and on the Patreon page as well. I will update you when this becomes available on Udemy, and all of that is down below in the description along with the comments. But this is really a part where this becomes a general reading because I don't know where all of your planets are positioned in every one of your charts. Now, in this interpretation, you want to either look at your ascendant or your moon when you're looking at the chart. The moon is going to give you an idea about how this is affecting you internally in your mind. How do you think and feel? What are the behaviors and patterns that are coming through this? All the cycles that you will go through during this transit. And the ascendant will show you how this will actually play out in your external reality, in your physical life. So for many of you, you want to look at both your moon and your ascendant to get an idea of how this will affect you. But I do recommend that you are either looking at your moon or your ascendant. Remember that sun is who you aspire to be. So this is not so much about your sun sign as we're going through this. So let's go ahead and move on to Libra. Hi Libra, so this is your horoscope for Mars and Taurus. And this is for those of you who have a Libra ascendant or a Libra moon. Mars is sitting in your 8th house. And so this can be a time of conflict. This can be a time where some surgery can happen. This can be a time where you can run into some accidents. This can be a time where you can see your whole life go through sudden changes and events. This is really trying to force you and get you to transform at a deeper level. And so this can be a very intense time. And so it's really a time where you want to focus on your health, where you want to focus on everything in your life, making sure that everything is secure and stable. As you can see, these sudden rises and falls happening in your personal life. Now, remember that for those of you with a Libra ascendant or Libra moon, that your 8th house is already connected to your first, right? Your purpose is to bring about balance. And so there can be a lot of unbalance in your life as a whole. And so this is not much of anything new that's taking place here. You're used to conflict. However, Mars is intensifying it. And so you want to make sure, again, that everything is secure, everything is harmonized during this period so that you are not seeing a lot of sudden shifts and changes that are taking you by surprise. Mars is also aspecting your 2nd house from the 8th house. And so this can be a great time to bring about wealth and security into your life. K2 is in your 8th house, in your 2nd house, however. And so this could be a time where you could feel some difficulty or struggle around gaining wealth and security. K2, of course, is that planet that takes us out of the material world. And so this can be a time where you are being forced to go into these deep spiritual transformations, where you're seeing conflicts around your material life. Hi, Scorpio, and welcome to your Mars and Taurus horoscope. So this is for those of you who have a Scorpio ascendant or Scorpio moon. This is Mars transiting through your 7th house. And so this becomes a huge time of relationships, of partnership, of business. And so this is a great time for you to make money, to make wealth, to get into commitments and business partnerships during this time. Now, from your 7th house, this is aspecting over to your 10th house. And so again, career becomes extremely important during this time. This is your time where you can level up in your career, where you can make more wealth, more income through your partnerships, through your business, through your contracts. All of this can increase during this time. From there, it is also aspecting your 2nd house of finance, of wealth. Again, huge time where you can use your business skills, where you can use your business partnerships to level up, to increase your wealth during this time, and especially through partnerships, through teamwork, through working with others. This can help to tremendously increase your wealth and finances during this time. And so you may find that you have a promotion, that you have a business opportunity, that someone is reaching out to you with an opportunity, a new project, a new venture to take on during this time. And this can help you tremendously in increasing your wealth. Now, the thing that you want to watch out here is your speech. Mars is aspecting from that seventh house to your second house of speech. And so you may find that you are ruining partnerships or relationships during this time through harsh speech. And so you want to watch out as far as what you are saying and what you're conveying through your speech, making sure that everything that you are saying during this period is of the highest, greatest good. If you're running into difficulties and frustrations with others, especially through these business partnerships, and also with your spouse or any sort of relationships dealing with others, then you really want to resolve these things in a healthy way, not to lash out, not to use harsh language. This can tremendously affect you during this period. Now, from your seventh house, this is also looking at your first house. And so your relationships are going to bring up some conflicts. This is helping you to actually work on yourself as well. And so you may find that you get a lot of reflections through your relationships at this period that are very much about conflict, about difficulties. For those of you who are not speaking up enough, who don't have enough self-esteem or confidence in your life, you may see some people taking advantage. And again, you want to use the proper speech to address these problems as they arise. For others of you, you may find that you're being overly dominating, and this could be tested as well. But this is really a mirror during this time where Mars is reflecting back to you all of the lessons that you need to work on within yourself. Remember that this Mars and Taurus transit is all about determination, persistence. And so are you giving up because you're getting frustrated in your relationships, in your partnerships? This is something that you really want to look at for those of you with a Scorpio ascendant or Scorpio moon. So let's go ahead and move forward here to those of you with a Sagittarius ascendant or Sagittarius moon. So this is Mars transiting your sixth house. And so similar to the sign of Libra, there can be some conflicts that arise here for those of you with a Sagittarius ascendant or Sagittarius moon, where you may see health problems. You may see arguments and conflicts with your coworkers, with your spouse, with those around you. You can get into arguments and conflicts during this time. And so you really want to use this time to address any conflict in a healthy way and to watch your health, especially during this time. Any sort of conflicts, any sort of stress that is being put on you can really affect your health, as this is Mars aspecting your 12th house from your 6th house. These two houses dealing with health. That 6th house dealing with your physical health. And so there could be physical ailments. But also, as it's looking at the 12th house, you can run into some mental illnesses as well, such as anxiety, depression, coming from the stress, the frustration, the conflicts that arise. And so really learning to deal with these conflicts in a healthy way, learning how to pace yourself. Again, this Mars in Taurus is a very slow-moving sign. And so you really want to take your time, be patient with yourself, be patient with others as you're dealing with any sort of conflicts during this time. Now also, this is aspecting your 9th house. And so you may find that there are conflicts with your elders, with your teachers, with your guides, with your father. And so this is a time, again, where you want to be patient. Many people are here testing you, and you want to make sure that you are not allowing these things to push your buttons. Some people will come along to test you in ways that you don't like, but ultimately ways that will give you wisdom and guidance that will help you throughout your life. And so this was really a time to learn from the conflicts, to learn from the frustrations, to use this to elevate yourself. And this is Mars aspecting your first house, where this is a time to elevate and grow within yourself, to build your self-esteem, to build your self-confidence, to build up towards your actions and goals in life. So let's move on here to those of you with a Capricorn ascendant or a Capricorn moon. So this is Mars aspecting your fifth house. And so this really becomes about your projects, about your creativity, your children for some of you. But this becomes a time of self-expression, of putting yourself out there, of really testing the waters and using your skills and your intellect to create the things that you want. And so for those of you who have been holding out on projects in your life, holding out on things that you want to build and create, this is a great time to start to work on this, to start to see that forward progress and movement take place. And this is aspecting over to your 11th house. And so for some of you, you may receive some support. You may need to be a part of a group to actually push for your projects to be accomplished. But at this time, you can receive a lot of gains, a lot of support, a lot of achievements and accomplishment and recognition from the things that you put your effort and time into. Again, this Mars in Taurus is a slow building. And so this really requires a lot of discipline, a lot of patience, a lot of commitment, a lot of time and effort. But also Mars in Taurus will get you to your results. That stubborn bull does not back down. This is also aspecting over to your 12th house. And so this is where you can use some of those creative juices from your imagination, from your dreams, and to really pour this into your projects, similar to those of you with Virgo. So this can be a very creative time for you to work on those projects. You also want to be aware that this is aspecting your 8th house. And so you can see some sudden changes and shifts happening here. And so don't be discouraged by any sort of fluctuations and changes happening in your life. This is ultimately helping you grow and transform. That 8th house is all about transformation. And for some of you, you may be losing some of the old projects or the old work or the old benefits that you received in the past to try to level you up to a different position. And so for many of you, you have to realize that this change that you are going through is pushing you towards something beneficial in your life. And so this is not here to discourage you. This is not here to make you fall apart and lose everything. This is here to help you transform and move on to the next level. So let's go ahead and shift forward here to the sign of Aquarius. Hi, Aquarius, moon or ascendant. This is your Mars in Taurus horoscope. So during this time, Mars is going to be transiting your 4th house. And so for many of you, you may see some conflicts within the home, but really this is a time where your passion, your efforts are going into your home life. And so for some of you, you may want to retreat at this time. You may want to disconnect at this time. However, you actually are supposed to deal with people. Remember that 4th house always sits opposite to the 10th. And so Mars is aspecting your 10th house as well, where you must uphold your public recognition and status at this time. And so working with others actually is a huge part of this time. And learning to find that inner peace, learning when to take breaks, learning when to go into retreat at proper times so that you have the energy, you have the strength to focus on your goals, to focus on the things that need to be done is a huge part of this transit. So remember that Mars in Taurus is a slow-moving sign. This is all about the persistence, the determination. This is not about a sprint. This is about a marathon. Do you have the steam, the stamina to keep going to get to the finish line? And so this is, again, going to be a time where you want to learn to take breaks. You want to learn to find that space to clear yourself, to retreat, to be at peace with yourself where you're not overworking. But also you want to continue to focus on your dreams, on your career, on your relationships, because this is aspecting over to your 7th and 11th as well, which are social houses, along with that 10th house of your career and status. And so a lot here in terms of working with other people, working on your projects, working on your career, that is heavily highlighted. And so learning when to balance the two things, learning when it is time to work, when it's time to deal with the world, and when it's time to retreat and be in that place of solitude. Hi, Pisces, and welcome to your Mars and Taurus horoscope. This is for those of you with a Pisces moon or Pisces ascendant. And so this is Mars transiting through your third house. And so this becomes all about communication, right? And for some of you, this is a time to work on your career path, to work on your projects and your goals that you have put off. And so this is really going to be a huge time to push for that communication. Now, as Mars comes into that third house, this really does give you a boost of confidence to be more talkative, more social, to be more engaged with business and with your social life overall. And so this is a great transit for you. This is aspecting over to your ninth house of higher education, of philosophy. And so for some of you, you may be teaching others, you may be seeking out counsel and wisdom from others, but this is really a great time to use your voice, to use your communication skills, to convey the message, to get it across to others. And especially as this is Mars leaving your second house and moving into your third house, where your speech has really been developed over this time. And so using this and utilizing this to really communicate, to connect during this time is highly important. And staying connected to those closest to you as they can give you some piece of wisdom. And so your siblings, your family, there may be someone close to you that is there to give you some guidance and support as well. Now, this is also aspecting over to your 10th house of career. And so again, this communication, this focus on business and your social life can really catapult you towards success at this time. This can really level you up. And so if you were in a lower position where this was because you weren't using those skills, that intellect, that communication, this is really a time where this can really level you up in your career. Now, for some of you, this is also a time where you may have to connect a lot with authority figures. Again, Mars is aspecting that ninth house and that 10th house, which are both about authority. That ninth house being of your guidance, those who are there to support you and give you wisdom, and the 10th house about those who are in a position of authority, who you have to look up to, who you have to follow their orders, their commands. And so this could be a time where you are building a closer connection with an authority figure who's here to give you some wisdom, some advice, some information to really catapult you towards your success. And so it's very vitally important that you're listening, that you are paying attention to the wisdom and guidance. I know that for many of you with a Pisces ascendant or Pisces moon, you don't like to follow the advice of others. With that Aries in your second house and Taurus in your third, there can be a stubbornness there in terms of actually listening to others. But this is really a time where you can gain some wisdom, some advice, some guidance that can really help you to move up the ladder to your success. Now, from there, this is also Mars aspecting your sixth house. And so this is really a time similar to those of you with Gemini where you want to into your health, making sure that everything is in order, because physical ailments can come up, accidents can come up with Mars looking at that sixth house. So you want to make sure that your eating habits, that your exercise, your routine, all of these things are in proper alignment for the way that they are for you, making sure that your life is in the correct order, and any sort of conflicts that come up as well. Again, you can see some conflicts or arguments or debates that can arise with authority figures, especially for those who are trying to give you some guidance, some wisdom, even for some of you with some of your siblings or those closest to you, you may see some conflicts there. And so again, you really want to sort of be open to listening, to receiving guidance. Again, we're seeing that moon in Leo, that moon in Sagittarius, that is being activated, where there can be some ego problems that come up here, where there's this feeling of knowing things, but maybe you don't know everything and you need to be more open and flexible to the information that's coming in. And so this can really affect you during this time. So that was your horoscope for Mars and Taurus for all zodiac signs. I want to thank you all so much for joining, and I will see you all in the next video.